Welcome back to the show. I'm Julia Hartley-Brewer. You're with Talk TV. Let's talk about something completely different now. The Ministry of Defence is to allow male military personnel who identify as trans women to live in female-only quarters, even though they're not female. Joining me right now is activist and commentator at the New Culture Forum, Amy Gallagher. Hello, Amy.
Hi, Julia.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I have to say, I mean, this is the thing, I think, the trans ideology is everywhere, in all of our institutions, in private business, in councils, in government. I think the one place lots of us would have thought it was fairly sane was in Ministry of Defence, because they have to deal with, you know, important issues like war, life and death. But actually, MoD seems to be one of the worst these days, allowing men. You can call yourself Sheila and put a wig on, but you're still a man, to live in female-only accommodation. This is according to official government document. They say as soon as the transition process begins, i.e., hello, I'm Sheila, begins, the person should be provided with accommodation appropriate to their affirmed gender. Did anyone bother asking the women about this?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is a further erosion of women's sex-based rights. As you said in the guidance, the emphasis is on gender, not sex. There doesn't seem to be any mention of sex. And it says on the first day of transition, you should be given accommodation to suit your gender. And this is a rather dubious term, transition. Do they mean gender reassignment surgery, or do they mean the first day that you start to socially transition, which could just mean just declaring that you're a woman? Yeah. So you could have a situation where somebody just says, well, this is the first day of my transition, I'm decided I'm a woman now, and the man is placed in female accommodation. Now, we know from a government report in 2021 that there is extensive evidence of misogyny, unfortunately, in the army and in the military. The report showed that there are high rates of harassment, of misogyny, and sadly of criminal activity.
We've had numerous reports in training and in the military of wide-ranging reports of sexual assault by women. And now they're being told, and now you're going to have to share accommodation. Now, this is supposedly single living accommodation, SLA accommodation, where you're basically not, as a family, not married, you get your accommodation. And they're saying that actually these are lockable rooms with ensuite bathrooms, so you won't even be sharing washing facilities. But again, this is, they're not all like that. And again, it's the principle of, like, you're in accommodation that is for women, or you're in accommodation for men. And it is just extraordinary, the idea that the desires, the preference of a biological male, which what a trans woman is, because they're still a man, no matter what, they can't change that, their preference should go above the needs, the safety, the preferences of the majority of women.
Yes, and that's right. And with regards to the accommodation, I mean, the quality of the accommodation and the level of space that you get is largely, I guess, determined on where you are in the ranks. So the likelihood is that female trainees, those at the bottom, will be more having to deal with this issue and more likely to have to share their space with men. So it's going to be women who are not in positions of power in the army who are going to have to deal with this. And this is what, as you say, this is what we're seeing time and time again happening throughout our society. I mean, we saw this week recently, there was a letter from a director of the NHS, an NHS Foundation Trust, saying that the chemically induced fluids or milk produced by trans women or men is just as good as women's breast milk. And an academic study alongside that saying that the baby's health is secondary to the emotions or the needs of the trans woman who's breastfeeding them. I mean, this is an absolute war on women at this point, I think we can say. I mean, we are being constantly told we are not good enough, that men can do everything better than us, and they can even be women.
They're better at being women. Well, we see that in sport as well. I just find it absolutely extraordinary. And again, putting the youngest, most inexperienced trainees in this situation, again, at risk when they're in their beds, in their bathrooms, and like, totally unacceptable. Thank you so much for joining us. That's Amy Gallagher, Benedict Spence. I mean,